Hi, I'm Bruce Lorincz, and I've taken a 17-year hiatus with doing shows on WCTV, but I'm asked to consider doing some shows here in Wadsworth, and believe it or not, my title voted on by my sweet wife and some other individuals, Bruce on the Loose. So that basically means that anyone could be invited on the show, and we try to educate people on various aspects of Wadsworth Schools and the community as well. Our guests today, we're very fortunate to have two very fine guests. Mrs. Karen Lapidakis, elementary teacher at I was almost going to say Franklin, but Isham Elementary, so I made a switch there. Okay. And Rodger Havens, the principal of Franklin Elementary. Thank you both for being with us today. And Rodger, could you tell us a little bit about the Oasis Tutoring program? We're going to feature that today, and its background, and is it a state or national organization?
Okay. Good morning, Bruce. Yeah, the Oasis program is a tutor/mentoring program, and it was started 30 years ago. From what I gather from the history, it is a national program, and Oasis, O-A-S-I-S, really has no meaning. So the name Oasis, all in capital letters, is what it is. But it does focus on older adults. It's a organization that was set up to help older adults and to give more meaning to their life and to give them some opportunities that they wouldn't typically get. So some of the things Oasis does is similar to what our center does up here, in that they bring young students over to help them with computer skills, that type of thing. So we already have that sort of infrastructure in Wadsworth, so we don't need that aspect of it. So we focus in on the tutoring part of it.
How long has the Wadsworth City Schools been involved? And it is a unique program where intergenerational, it seems like the students are excited, but as you indicated, the senior citizens look forward to this, don't they?
Yes, and to answer that first question, so the organization's been around for 30 years, and Wadsworth has participated in it for 27. And when Wadsworth started out 27 years ago, there were several Akron area schools participating in it. There was Akron City Schools, Cuyahoga Falls, Parma, Wadsworth, and then you jump down to Cincinnati. But I think the reason it kind of grew in this area is because the May Department Company sponsored it initially. So one of their local headquarters was down around Chapel Hill Mall.
That's interesting indeed. Ms. Lapidakis, how do you go and try to determine as an educator who might benefit from this program?
Well, in kindergarten, we work with the students as they're just coming in new and into the district in our buildings, and we do 2 sets of tests right away at the beginning of the year. We do the CRAE test, which is the kindergarten readiness test, and we also do a DIBELS testing, which now we also do in math, but reading. So we're looking at their skills as they're coming in. Some of the children have had preschool, some of them have not. What we look at is their home environment. Many students don't have consistency with different reading skills and learning the alphabet and numbers and things like that. So we kind of take the whole package and look at them as the children that really need that older person to end up being a mentor to them through the school year and help them through areas that they need assistance with for reading and writing and other areas of their school day.
Now the tutors, I gather, are with the students for an hour, or in your case, you've modified a little bit, a half an hour.
We do.
Why did you think a half an hour is good for those kindergartners?
Well, when you have those kindergartners and they're still kind of a little squirmy, 30 minutes is plenty of time. So we have worked it in our building that I have 3 wonderful tutors, Oasis tutors, and they each have 2 children, and they do 30 minutes apiece. So they come in for an hour once a week, and those kids love it, and when they walk in, they they know it's their turn, and sometimes they even, fight on who's going to go first with their tutor and that. But 30 minutes is plenty of time, and then they're coming back in and not losing any of the lesson that I'm presenting at that time too, whether it's centers or other work in the morning.
It doesn't seem like that's very much time, 30 minutes, but I think as the year goes on, the students relax and you probably see a difference.
Oh,
do you?
absolutely. The consistency, and very few times do we have, either the tutors or the children that are absent. So, once a week for 30 minutes, it's really amazing the information that they get with the tutors and the time that's spent with them, and how they really do soar by the end of the school year.
Rodger, how many Oasis tutors do we have in Wadsworth, and basically what are their typical backgrounds?
Well, when I took over the organizing the Oasis, because it's been passed down from person to person in the school district, and I started out with 12 Oasis tutors. And I was told at the time when it was handed to me, they said, either do something with the program and build it up, or allow it to kind of die a slow death. And I thought, you know what, that presents me with a challenge. And so I can happily say that yesterday I just trained 14 additional tutors on top of the approximate 40 that we already have. So we're up close to 50. We do lose a couple of people every year due to either them moving away, or some of them just says, you know what, I'm finally going to retire, finally. And so some of them can get up into their 80s, 80 years old, and sometimes they just say that they're tired and they want to take a break again. So again, I need to replenish every year with 4 to 6 tutors because of that attrition. But like I say, this kind of bumped it yesterday with 14. That was a large amount, which makes me feel great because I'm good for 2 more years in case I wouldn't get any in the future. But it's varied each year between as low as 2 and up to obviously 14. And typically I get 4, 5, or 6.
So basically, the people doing this really don't have to be an educator. In fact, I would think sometimes, as you pointed out yesterday at our meeting, we have an engineer involved, and they would probably have a different perspective and really promote math and science compared to maybe some others.
Yeah, what I found yesterday is when I had those 14 people in the room, I said, well, let's go everybody tell about their background. And I had people who worked in the nursing area. I had people that were former teachers. I had former librarians. I had an engineer. And so they come from all walks of life. It's just your desire to mentor a student, and that's the motivation. Some were, well, they just kind of said, well, I'm just a housewife and raised my children, and now I'm, practicing for grandchildren.
Karen, you touched on it a moment ago about students looking forward to the tutors coming in. They probably know which day, and you've set aside days so you can, again, get your curriculum in order, so they kind of know that, and they probably don't want to miss school that day, do they?
No, not too often, unless that flu bug or something's going around. But on a norm, I have mine, or at Isham, we're pretty much the same. Wednesdays and between 9:30 and 10:30, because we have early lunches now, and a half an hour. And our tutors, often the teacher will also, additional to their books and the things that they've brought with them that day, we've also will give them things like their sight words that they can be working on, or if it's a student that needs help with the alphabet and recognizing the letters or the sounds, they'll work with them on things like that too. Flashcards, they might be playing games, having to do with rhyming or some other area skill in reading and that too. So they're always, that 30 minutes goes by pretty fast, but they really look forward to it.
I would think that reinforcement, they get it during their class time, but sometimes there's stimulus and things like that you indicated they may not be able to focus, but then they get it again with their tutor. Yeah. I would think that would really assist them.
It does. It really helps those. And often, they'll be coming back in from being with the tutor, and that's exactly the lesson or the lit center that they'll be, focusing on when they come back. So they're kind of right back, but that gave them enough time to go out, work one-on-one, and come back. And often that's what those little kiddos need, is they need that one-on-one. They don't always get it at home. So that's giving them some more confidence, helping to build their confidence with their skills and leading into their reading, their love of reading.
Rodger, you talked about the training involved with your 14 new people in Oasis just yesterday. What are some of the things that may take place during that session?
Well, there is a concept behind, excuse me, there's a concept behind this program that the volunteers are supposed to follow. There's a template, and that's what I bring them in and show them this multifaceted way approach. Typically during the hours, or during the hour that they mentor a child, they're to bring the child in, talk to them, showing good communication skills. The adult is there to model good skills. And so they talk to the child talks back, but not in a negative way. And so then they get into sharing a book together. And the book could be, is a book that the mentor chooses based on what the child's interest level is. And then they talk about the book, and they look at the pictures of the book before they start reading the book. Those are the things that I teach the mentors on how to approach when they have the students. And part of that is after they get through the book, they do a writing aspect. Now, it could be the mentor writing or the child writing. I said, whichever way works best for you, and depending on where the child is in their developmental stage. So they write together, they read together, they talk together. The child draws a picture of the story. They choose some vocabulary words out of the book that may be new to them, and they write them in a journal, and that way they can review them at their next session. And then there could be activities, like Karen mentioned, that it could be working on some of those other skills. So I tell the mentors, I give them a bag that says Oasis on the side of it, and I said, that's your bag of tricks. So don't just take one book in and nothing else, because that child may not be interested in that book. Make sure you have 3 or 4 of them in your book bag, and have some activities too to break up the routine as you're going through. So the training, it takes a couple hours to go through, and I present it to them, and then there's a video that they watch that actually shows Oasis tutors in action.
One other thing that the program does provide, and John has pictures of these already, are booklets and pamphlets that the students can go ahead and utilize. I really like All About Me. It's an inventory. It goes ahead and asks students about draw a picture of themselves, their family, things that they like, who their classmates, their friends are. And it just really gives you a good insight. And it's really for the first session and a half sometimes. We get into talking about that, and it's very, very helpful, along with my journal. They could have a family reunion the week before, or swimming is always a big activity the kids tell me about during their summer breaks and what they've done. And it just gives them an opportunity to talk. A lot of times in the classroom, Karen, you realize that you have things to do and you can't get sidetracked, you can't get on tangents, but this is an opportunity for them to tell someone else about their new pet, or their vacation, or what they did, and those are excellent tools. I'm sure you know that we really use those a lot.
We do, and our kids, even the kindergartners, they love that, and the tutors will come back and say, they've noticed that today they expounded on, their drawing. They had more to add, and or they're developing and using those sight words that they are working on, and telling more about their family, and so it's a working relationship with the tutor and the child, learning more about each other and that too.
Karen, what about if someone maybe moves in? Is there a way to maybe adjust and maybe add a tutor during the year? Or, if someone, again, moves out, or someone has some difficulty with someone passing or something in the family, and you see a difference in a student, can we make adjustments during the year?
I personally have never had to make adjustments in the year. I was telling you earlier, several years ago, I had a student that came in, and we really felt that that student was way behind where we wanted him to be even in kindergarten, and coming down after him working with our Oasis tutor, coming down the road, he ended up needing to go through the special ed program, and but we continued to keep him with the Oasis tutoring so that he was still getting that one-on-one. That was just another plus piece of the puzzle for him, and I understand he's doing very, very well now, several years later. But and I don't know personally with Rodger, I've never had anyone that has moved out or that we've really added in. I suppose with all those new Oasis tutors coming in, we'll be able to plug them in and for additional students.
And just to clarify, we don't necessarily put struggling students in with the Oasis tutors. Some of them are academically strong. In fact, we've had gifted students placed with them. And again, the need there is the need for one-on-one attention. I always tell the people that are coming in, you're going to be the grandmother or the grandfather of this child. Mm-hmm. And those are the things that, if you have your own grandchildren, this is what you do with them typically when you sit and read to them. And so I'm just refining it into a educational setting, and so basically you're doing those things, and you could have all walks of life. I remember the one year, the one guy came back, he said, I can't figure out why this child is with me. He said, he's brilliant. And I said, well, because it's not necessarily the struggling students. Again, it's those that maybe they come from a single parent household and the parent works second shift, and they just they're just not around adults enough, and this is an opportunity to fill some of that void.
Agreed.
A couple years ago, Karen suggested that I go ahead and read to the various kindergarten classes. So we bring the 3 kindergarten classes I teach them together, and usually the first book of the year, and I've been a tutor for 7 years, Quick as a Cricket, and they really enjoy the pictures, and they comment anything with animals. The kindergartners love the animals, and they comment, and I have to take my time because I can't have anyone not see the pictures. Exactly. Because they don't want to be left out. So
that's let you know too,
that's number one. And of course, Dr. Seuss. It wouldn't be a
reading moment.
Reading moment without Dr. Seuss. And this was a book, by the way, that he was. They found a manuscript after he passed of Which Pet Should I Get, and it's kind of an interesting one that the sister and brother can't make their mind up, and they're trying to determine whether they get a fish or a rabbit or a cat or a dog, and the kids at the end, they carry a pet out of the pet store, and we don't know, so I guess it's predicting. Mm-hmm. So those books really can...
Another skill, yep, continue with the kids, and they love the pictures, and like Rodger was mentioning, with their writing, when they're using their journal, that they're drawing pictures, and they're taking the steps of putting things in order, the way things happen, and bringing all the different skills that we're working through as either a young child or as they're working through the writing process through the older grades and that too.
Well, and I think there's one also that I kind of like, Casey at the bat.
Is that you on the cover?
No, that is not. But again, we also talk to the students and tell them, there's Mighty Casey, and we tell them when we begin that maybe some of you could be authors, or maybe some of you could go ahead and be artists. And illustrators, because we really need good people to do that, and we say the boys can be good artists too, and just not the girls, and we take our time with this one, of course, and it's something that the students really, one thing that I see when I read, they really do listen.
Oh, they do.
And I think it's different if someone else from the outside comes in versus the regular teacher. It's someone that, well, I don't really know this person. Let me, kind of get close to my friends here, and it's kind of a neat setting.
We bring them all together, and you'll have 4 classes this year now. So
oh, 4, okay.
We'll
I'll
have
look
to
forward
find.
to that.
We might have to move out of Mrs. Pettit's room and into another larger area, but they really do. They're pretty good listeners, and they like to see the events that are happening, and like you say, another person coming in. And they also get their library time, their Isham library time, and we also have Wadsworth Public Library that is coming in once a month now. They've had to scale down their time because of how much they're going out and about to all of the different school buildings this year. So a little bit of reading from everybody really helps to round them out.
Well, and again, it just lets them know how important reading is.
Absolutely.
Rodger, it seems to me that's the cornerstone of much of your thrust, and it really helps with math. I mean, it helps across the board, social studies, everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, reading and literacy is the foundation that everything's built upon. So starting the kids out of the chute and strong in those areas, that has a significant impact for a lifetime.
No question about it. And again, later, I'm in a book chat here at the Senior Citizen Center. It's something that Karen and I talked before the show, that it's something that we're going to be utilizing forever. No question about it. Another thing that I do that I think that's really important, because social studies teachers have got a knock on people, the kids don't know where Chicago is. Well, I take a little time and show them various places that either I've been, my daughters, we have it charted out where they're in Connecticut and state of Washington. And of course, with the cruise this summer to Alaska, they'll know where Alaska is. And I just think that's something that is important for them to know their world. Karen?
Absolutely. I really focus a lot with the science and the weather map when we're doing carpet time. So I bring up the United States map, and they get to see, and some of them know exactly where grandparents live or vacations that they've been on to. So they're pointing out different places. So seeing those places and expounding on those, we, like Rodger said, we are always using pieces of literacy, and it takes us lots of different places.
Rodger, at the end of the year in May, we have a luncheon for the tutors. Can you tell me about that and how that started?
Well, trying to think of how we could thank our Oasis tutors in a meaningful way, although I think a lot of their motivation, of course, comes back from the students, and the students appreciative of their work. So I worked with our Blue Tip Festival Committee, and they give me some money each year to sponsor a luncheon for our Oasis tutors, because they want to give back to the community, and this was a perfect fit because the people who spend their money at the carnival and that sort of thing hopefully are some of the ones that are are out here in the luncheon. So they've given me money. I typically have had it up at the Galaxy. And we also do a little bit of a recognition ceremony. The tutors receive a certificate for their year's service. And then there are some other items that we get from the national that recognizes service for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, and believe it or not, we do have one lady that this is her 27th year. Natalie Dole, so a shout out to her. And in fact, she told me yesterday that she helped recruit some of these new people. She says, we got to get more people involved. And boy, when she talks, everybody listens.
Guess so.
And anyway, so yeah, she's been there since day one of the Oasis program in Wadsworth.
Yeah, this is my 7th year, and I think at 5-year intervals you go ahead and provide starfish, indicating that that everyone's important, and we're going to go ahead and try to assist our students. And it's really a program that if anyone out there is interested, we've had a good recruiting class this year, but it's still, talk to Rodger. It still may not be too late to join, but for sure next year, if there's a possibility, we can always use more tutors. Is that right, Rodger?
Yes, they're welcome to call me at Franklin Elementary School, 330-335-1470, and at least get on the list. And if we would happen to come up short on tutors, I may do another round of teaching and get people in.
Well, thanks very much for our 2 guests, Karen Lapidakis, Rodger Havens, and thank you for viewing, and we'll be with you in the future with more shows.